Hello and welcome back to the Pinnacle Esports channel. Today we are joined with some familiar faces as you would have seen last year's RMR. It's Brandon, BDog and LucyLuce. And today we got some categories going that we're going to discuss about RMR A. We've got what teams will go 3-0, what teams will go 0-3, and a few other spicy categories. So I guess we'll just get straight into it. Brandon, do you want to kick it off? Lucy, anyone want to come up first with their 3-0s?
You want to start? I could start because I think mine are pretty straightforward in terms of RMR A. And I think I'm very surprised if yours differ, Brandon, because I think it's very obvious who the two 3-0s are. And that's Na'Vi and FaZe clan, right? It's very difficult to see this going any other way. FaZe come in. They've just won EPL season 17 into a Grand Slam. They've been very consistent in top placing. Easy for them. Na'Vi, similar situation, like top 4 placings, EPL and Qatar. They've been very, very consistent, always making through playoffs. And I think with this particular RMR, 3-0, easy for both these teams.
Okay. So I agree with you on FaZe, but obviously I've been doing the little prediction things as well. Like I've been really getting into it, Lucy. But to kind of touch on what we agree with, FaZe, you're right, just coming off the Grand Slam. Obviously, Rop's performing second highest at EPL. I think the rating was like 1.27 over like 18 maps of Counter-Strike. Like ridiculously consistent. And also, it's just the fact that they've got no pressure now, right? They've got the monkey off the shoulder sort of thing. They've got the Grand Slam. Now they can kind of play without pressure. They went 3-0 at the RMRs last time. So for me, I completely agree with you. FaZe 3-0 at the RMRs. So here's where we differ.
Okay.
And in the RMRs, you've got best of ones and you've got best of threes. There's going to be upsets. It's not going to be clear cut. It's a Swiss system. So for both of these, I've gone for a traditional pick and I've gone for a little bit of a wild card. So what I look for in 3-0 teams, in my opinion, is you're going to need a blend of experience playing in these competitions before, also experience playing at the highest level. You're going to need an infinite skill ceiling. Not infinite, but like a high skill ceiling, right? And also I think you're gonna want a young blend of talent who are hungry, who've never really made it to kind of this upper echelon before, and might have made it to the RMR, but haven't reached the heights of the major. And for me, I think with all that in mind, I've gone for 1 win to go 3-0.
What?
So hear me out. All right. You look at all the favorite teams in tier 1 right now that are shaky. I think we're in the most kind of the era of Counter-Strike we're in. Anything can happen, and there aren't many teams I'd consider to actually have very consistent results at the moment. Very high level of play right now. It is scrappy out there for the top. I'd even go as far down as like top 40 teams. A Fnatic have just lost to 9 yesterday. And they're in EU RMR A. They lost to Bait last time in the RMR as well. And that was, I think that was a best of 3. Na'Vi, you've said they look consistent. I don't think they have, to be honest. I feel like they always get it done, but I think that there's struggles, especially with the MPL edition. I feel like there are some clashes in that team. And I feel like in best of ones, that can get a bit stressful. I feel like they've got the potential to lose a best of 1. So that's how I see it. I think the VP never go through any Swiss stage at all in a comfortable manner. So then you look to the upset teams. Okay, who can do it? You take a look at the list of the teams that are in tier 2, and you take a look. 1 win has the number in all of them. I only think it runs close against Gamer Legion if they get matched up against them. Nickelback's IGL in this team. Boomich has now moved into a more of a rifle role, but he can be the second caller if they need. Deco, we know how not experienced this guy is, but how impactful he is on the server. I think Travis is criminally underrated. And when you got a best of 1 format filtering into a best of 3, and the pressure's on some of these teams to perform and try and get to the major, I genuinely think out of all the teams that can have the most upset, it will be 1 win.
I'm incredulous. I mean, I don't even have 1 win going through. I do not have confidence in them.
That's wrong.
Well, look, they've had losses recently to teams like Falcons, Aurora, Monte, 9. I mean, teams that are on the same kind of caliber, and that they're going to be the ones competing for those kind of 7th, 8th, 6th spots that, are going to be up for grabs when the favorites go through. I think 1 win is a really long shot. Just to counterpoint what you're saying about Na'Vi, though, I mean, this is a team that qualified for Legends last time. Yes, Simple's not at his best form currently, but Simple's like low form is like a 1.2 1 to 1.3 rating average, right? Like it's not like he's dropping off the map, and you've got Electronic and Bits stepping up. We saw that in EPL. Both of those pieces were firing off, and I felt like the floor was even rose a bit with Perfecto actually having some really strong games. Yes, MPL is still getting adjusted and is sort of going absent in some of these games, but I don't think it's a big enough issue for it to be a worry here for Na'Vi. And honestly, I mean, look, they're going to get off to an easy win in the opener, right? They got into the breach first. I mean, no offense to UKCS, but Na'Vi are absolutely rolling them there. And I think just with the way the seeding is going to work, I can't see them not going 3-0. And 1 win, really? 3-0? I mean, the fights that they have to get through to get there. I mean, Bad News Eagles is going to be a tough one to begin with, right? This is a team that impressed everybody at the last RMR. Yes, they're a little inconsistent at times, but like when it matters, this team fires off. And now they've got Crystal coming in as the assistant coach as well, specifically for this major cycle to add that extra analytical input. I think they are already going to hand 1 win their opening loss. So 3-0 is already out of the question.
I think 3-0 is out of the question for Na'Vi, though, because the way the seeding, I think, will work is I think FaZe and Na'Vi will go up against each other in the 1-0. So I don't think either of them, well, one of them will only hit 3-0. So that's why I didn't put Na'Vi for 3-0, because I thought FaZe would beat them in that head-to-head when I did the little pick'ems. BNE point, kind of agree with what you're saying to a certain extent, but ever since they actually brought in Devil Walk, I feel like the blend and the culture has really shifted, obviously, because BNE, they were high impact, explosive players, weren't really thinking too much about the mid-round. Whilst their utility usage has been sublime ever since Devil Walk joined, I feel like it's actually been really difficult for them, especially in the mid to late round, kind of piecing it all together, and that's where the inconsistencies trickle in. Maybe a best of 1 format is the best place for them, but I don't know. I went with what I went with.
To give us a bit more of a, to reason with you a bit after your waffle on why 1 win are going through, do you know who they're, on your predictions, who are they facing in each of the stages to go 3-0? This might help convince us a bit more. You can't remember.
I closed the tab. Hang on, bear with me.
Because 1 win is quite a shout for a team that hasn't really won a lot. Well, I think most people are expecting them to match their name.
Oh,
that's true. I've got them with 1 win as well. Yeah. 1-3 is where they ended up in my bracket.
So I think if 1 win beat BNE, then they've got a game against VP, who are in the 1-0. They're going to be snoring. It's VP. The game's going to go 30 rounds, and then it's going to be Deco having a masterclass. So 1 win will beat VP in the 1-0, and then the 2-0 they're against Mouse. So I think they can beat them. So for me, it has to be 1 win.
What?
You have to have Deco as your highest rated player when we get to that category. There is no way.
I don't.
Would it be a Na'Vi player?
It's not a Na'Vi player.
Oh, okay.
Really? I'm curious about that though. We'll get to that though.
Yeah,
we're not there yet. But yeah, look, I think the way that you tried to justify that just made your argument look worse. So if anyone actually agrees with you, then props to them. But that is the longest shot of long shots.
Sometimes you gotta be brave. Fortune favors the brave, and 1 win are the bravest. So 3-0, 1 win. 3 win.
I think the agreement is gonna have to be FaZe Na'Vi for 3-0.
No, because it doesn't make sense.
We agree on FaZe.
We agree on FaZe.
We're happy with FaZe.
All right.
FaZe and a CIS team.
FaZe and Na'Vi will face each other in 1-0.
They're not going to on my predictions, Brandon.
Okay, well, what are your predictions?
I've got Na'Vi beating out into the breach. They get up against Bad News Eagles round 2, win that easy, and then round 3, it's Na'Vi versus Mouse, with one of those 2 teams going through. Na'Vi probably win it in the best of 3, but I wouldn't count Mouse out of that one.
No, you got some rogue predictions in there. Because if I just change mine,
well, you know all my matchups. They're all the favorites winning. The only ones that have switched is I think Falcons beat Sprout, and I think Gamer Legion beat Apex.
I agree.
Yeah, so that sends second round is Na'Vi versus Bad News Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the And then I've got FaZe, Na'Vi, and 2-0.
Okay, well, I got Sprout beating Saw, Bait versus beating Apex.
Oh, okay, though. Hang on.
That's probably where those two are. I think they're both pretty close games, but I think Sprout and Bait win. Sprout, I'm still very like this, but it's Azza, so I'm also like, yeah, go Sprout.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've got Sprout going 0-3, so.
Okay, well, I don't.
I will say, Azza's been very difficult to contact for doing these other recordings, so he's putting in the work. That's all I know.
Good.
I should have prepped more.
It's wild how much the matchups change just from changing one team winning. So
it makes it really hard to actually predict.
Should we come to the agreement that it's going to be FaZe and a CIS team?
No, we can say we can say Na'Vi. I'll concede my argument, but when I'm right,
when you're right, we'll come back to this.
We'll come back. Yeah.
Okay, let's then go to the next category, the 0-3. Who do you think is going to be 0-3 at this event?
Well, I said Sprout. I just don't like it. I like the Azza pickup. I don't agree with the fact that you've brought Zypher back in after you've got rid of him. That you've got Refresh that wants to not be in IGL, and then now he's not in the team at all due to conflicts of like structure changes. And I feel like there's been too much turmoil in that team. I feel like Azza is actually a really good pickup. I think he was probably the best person they could find for Sprout, and I will acknowledge that. I will say that is a good signing, Lucy. There you go. However, the rest of the team doesn't make sense. Zello hasn't delivered what you think he was going to achieve, and every time I've watched Sprout, they've just kind of looked a bit all over the place. And for me, I feel like they're just going to get picked apart.
I don't have them 0-3, but yeah, I agree they've been disappointing. Obviously, it takes time when you bring in a new IGL and you've got like a systematic changes. I think Zeller in particular has been the big disappointment for me on this team. Yeah. I didn't have big expectations, to be honest, with him coming in, seeing, middling results in the teams he was in previously, sometimes some pop-up performances, but it wasn't a high-tier team. And Sprout is a step up. It's a team that's pushing tier 1.5, basically, you classify them as. And I think you need an AWPer that's beyond that to be able to take down teams and find your way through, if they want to get a repeat of the legend stage again, So yeah, I don't have them 0-3, but I do agree with your points. So I think they're a good pick for it.
Who have you got for 0-3?
So I got two teams. One of them is Viperio. I think coming into this, I mean, look, they only just made it through to the RMRs, very low seeding. They're not even the best UK team, Brandon. They came second at Epic LAN. I mean, they're not even the second best UK team. Like, I have them sort of eventually going 0-2 first into the breach, and I think they probably lose out there. So I'm not confident in Viperio at all, as much as I'd love to see them succeed. Don't think it's going to happen. And my second is Apex. It's a team that I want to see do well. I really like Jacob. He's a really solid player. They've got some good pieces in Stiko and Nork, but they've been very disappointing for a long time. I will say that since the new IGL has come in, kicks in, it seems like they've been getting some better results, including some pretty big wins over some names like Big, Sprout, etc. But I'm not confident in them, and I feel like when it comes to big events and opportunities, they often fall flat.
So my second team for 0-3, unfortunately, also is Viperio. And look, I've spoken to some of the guys. I kind of know what's going on there. Tier 2 Talk had a fantastic podcast with Artist and the coach Biscu as well. Shout out Retro and Dweg. And they were basically saying, look, we understand our expectations coming into this. We know the caliber of the opposition, but they have been putting in the work. And that's kind of what I really want to kind of highlight here. They went to boot camp in Warsaw for a week at the Kingwin Performance Center. They've been playing so many HLTV officials. I think that they've played about 88, 89 as of this recording, like officials on HLTV in the past 3 months. Like, they've been entering every single tournament that they can. They've been really trying their best. Their performances honestly have improved so much over the last month. But with that being said, I know, they know the level of the competition, and you're right. Ultimately, if they do meet Into the Breach, I feel like Into the Breach just have got always their number when it comes to best of threes. And I do want Viperia to succeed. I'm not a UKCS hater. I was so happy when we saw them make it through, but for me, I just have to, with my head, put them in 03, and I really, really don't want to.
Well, we agree on one then.
Yeah.
I felt like I was getting some vibes that you weren't agreeing with me on Apex.
No, I think you're completely wrong on Apex.
Okay. Give me your pitch.
Okay, well, I guess this could lead nicely. I've got Apex as my dark horse.
Okay, right.
And I can tell you why, and I agree with what you were saying originally about Kixon's addition. And it makes a lot of sense because he was the IGL for Blue Jays. If you're a little bit unfamiliar with the history, guys, basically Kixon was IGL for Blue Jays, North Macedonian squad. They won the IESF towards the back end of 2022. They also won or came really high up in Challenger League. And for me, what's interesting and what's impressive with Kixon's IGL is the mid-round decision making, and that's something that Apex sorely lacks. They went out, recognized that he was the missing piece that they needed, brought him in, and it has taken time for that team to gel. But you look at that team on paper, you've got Nork, you've got J-Chem, you've got now Kixon that can call around these pieces mid-round, and I feel like there is a potential, and I feel like the majority of the Counter-Strike community has really written Apex off. They've gone, look, this project has just failed. This project's just not going to succeed. This project has not been up to par with all the hype and the announcements around them on their social medias, right? But if you take a look at actually what happened to Blue Jays when Kixon left, the whole team couldn't find any results, couldn't actually find an adequate replacement for him. The team actually got dropped entirely by the organization. And that's just a testament to how good Kixon is. They came second place in CCT West Europe 2, narrowly losing out to Monte. I feel like they're peaking at the right time. And with the impressive results, as you mentioned, over Big, over Sprout, I feel like they can have some real upset potential here in the RMR Group A. So that's why I think they're the dark horse.
I definitely think that Viperia being 03 is a choice. Like it's sad because I mean, Brandon, us being from the UK, I mean, it's especially sad because I played in a team with Gizmy in 2017, I think, and it was back then we used to call him iMac Jack. I don't know if you know about him on his iMac back then. So he was like 60 FPS, and I remember saying to one of the guys on the team, I was like, this guy, he's got so much potential to be a player, but his attitude wasn't in the game entirely. It was at a point where he was 13 at the time, I think, so obviously he's going to be quite childish, and he'd run around the map saying things like McNasty. He'd call himself McNasty. It was incredible. I love the guy. He's phenomenal, and yeah, I hope Viperia do well here, but I can only echo what you say about the opposition being at another level. In terms of Apex and Sprout, I feel like they are on similar level right now, and they both feature ex-Renegades players. So yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, I hate to see both of them fail because I want to see all every team with one of those players in it. I'm like supporting, but like just do it. I mean, Apex has been going on for so long now, as you mentioned, Brandon. Like, feels like a lot of people have written them off, and I think I have too. But this is the chance, though. Right. Yeah. If they do what you say as the dark horse, they do shine here. I think that's going to completely change everyone's estimations of this team. So this is an opportunity for Apex.
Okay, I'll pose you this question, and I think you'll agree with me. Sprout versus Apex in the best of 3. Apex wins that every time.
Probably, yeah. I think so. I think
therefore Sprout has to go 03.
Okay, that's a fair argument. And then
sorry, I know. Before we move on, I want to say one more thing about Viperio. Be wary, EU RMR teams, if you pick Nuke. They are unbelievable on Nuke. Genuinely, the best UK team on Nuke ever. I'm real. That's it. Sorry, carry on.
It's a shame that Train's not still in the pool. Otherwise, it'd be over for everybody.
It would be.
But continuing on, you're saying Apex is your dark horse.
Yeah.
Lucy, who have you got as your dark horse?
Yeah, I noted 2 here because I'm not sure if the first counts as a dark horse, but I had Team Falcons as my initial pick. And maybe
so romantic.
Yeah, it is romantic. I love the storyline of a French team, an entirely French roster playing the very last CSGO major in Paris, the city of love. You know, you've got legends of the game, Kenny S, MVK, Body, a core that was one of the best teams in the world for a period, right? But they're fallen from favor. And in many ways, this kind of feels like almost like a French Last Dance in a sense. And I think tying it into being the Paris Major, like you can't not love this storyline. And so that's why I picked them. But that's why I also put the question forward is, are they actually a dark horse? Because I think everyone's going to be engaging with the storyline. So my secondary pick, because of that, was Bait. I think this is a team that really impressed the last RMRs, where they just missed out on making it through. They've shown that they can take down big names, and they've also brought back Owner, who was in the team like when it first came together, but then he went off and was working with Spirit Academy, but obviously is very familiar with the pieces here. And I think his experience within the Spirit organization is actually going to really translate across well here. So I'm very excited to see what this team looks like with him back in the mix, and I think they could be the dark horse.
Yeah, that's some good points. I think the Wrinkle effect as well. I think Wrinkle is a phenomenal player. I think Captain Kirker can have some really big impacts in games that you don't expect him to have impacts in. And Amster has got quite a lot of experience playing in like the tier 2 circuit, especially like EC Club Kiev and some of those other teams. So I agree. I was really impressed with what we saw from them in the last RMR. Do I think that they're a dark horse that like can make it through to the stages potentially? No. But I agree with you. I think they do have upset potential. I feel like they can win some games that the community and, well, I guess the teams that are facing them don't expect them to win. I feel like best of ones are the best possible way for Bait to make upsets, and best of threes is where it gets difficult.
I mean, you saw it last year with Bait up against Fnatic, as you already mentioned. Brandon took them down. So definitely going off of previous results, picking them as a dark horse makes complete sense. And it's also an odd one here because you've got Apex picked, but then also Apex picked as an 0-3. So I think there's quite a strong disagreement between if they're the dark horse or if they're just going to bottom out of the event. Is there an agreement?
Look, I'm happy. I think Brandon's presented a good argument here. He gave me the Na'Vi point. I'll give him the Apex point, and I'll concede Sprout as the 0-3 instead of Apex.
I don't think we need to pick a dark horse. I think it's just good that there's different opinions, because what it means is that the group, whilst it does look quite clear-cut compared to the other one, it's exciting, and the fact that we can have so many teams that can cause upsets is going to throw all the seeding kind of into a little bit of turbulence. So I'm really excited to see how it does shape up.
Okay, for this next one, it might be a bit messy because there's a lot of teams to mention, but if you just list off your teams, it might make it a bit easier to keep track on. So who are the remaining 6 teams that you think will qualify?
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, yours is going to be spicy. I can already feel it.
No, mine are quite linear. Na'Vi, Fnatic, Mouse, VP, Gamer Legion, Bad News Eagles.
Okay, mine are a little different, not significantly. So VP, Mouse, Fnatic, Bad News Eagles, OG, and Falcons.
Why? No.
What? Wait, is it OG that you disagree with?
I'm Falcons. Like you've gone for the storyline narrative for the Falcons. All right, like.
No, Falcons slap. I like them.
No, they don't. no, they don't. An OG. Well, the Nex is not in the major cycle. It's not happening.
Yeah, but I think they've just got enough experience there, and they've got enough star individuals that I think they can win out against some of the weaker teams, which are those dark horse teams. It's those teams sitting in the sort of 2-2, 1-2 bracket that I think OG should win out those matches. I mean, they're beating teams like NIP as of late. I think they can do it. It's going to be tough, but there's a chance they can make it through.
I really don't agree with
that. I mean, I just look at the other teams, and I feel like OG on paper should be better than Gamer Legion, Soul, Sprout, Bait, One Win, etc. I feel like they should be winning those.
I don't think in a high pressure environment, you got a qualification game against Gamer Legion. I don't think you win.
Do you think
that's Dexter?
Do you think that's individual skill, Brandon, or is that because the team has got more structure because Nex is now gone? Like
it's a bit of both. It's a bit of both. I feel like the Nex not being involved in the major cycle is really going to hinder OG. You've already seen the call-in like disparities between him and Nico. Yes, you got the individuals. Yes, Dexter can have a pop-off game. But I just can't see it. I really can't see it. I think Gamer Legion have been performing exceptional. For me, Gamer Legion are the most consistent team in Tier 2 right now, and they're pushing the envelope for Tier 1.5, Tier 1 Counter-Strike. So I don't... You go up against them in the best of 3. I can't see that happening. I feel like some of the other teams... I feel like OG are going to get matched up quite harshly here in the RMR based on some of the seeding. So I feel like when they go up against like your Maus, if they get put up against Fnatic, for example, they lose that every day of the week. I think they go 2-3. I don't think they make it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not completely wedded to them. I do think they've looked at, a bit average, and it's a bit rough for them. They've had some really tough matches, to be fair. Like at EPL, it was pretty hard for them. You had Vitality and Pain both looking like really, really good. So I feel like it was not a good run for them with the IGL change, which is, I think also shapes kind of the opinions on this team at the moment. I think keeping an eye on the Dallas qualifier is actually going to be a good indication of how they're going to do on the RMRs. That's happening as they're recording, so it's hard to say how that's going. But, if they make it through there, then I think I'm a lot more confident in them at the RMRs. But yeah, I can agree with you on it. I just think that with some of those individuals, it might just be enough to get them over the line.
I actually think that Falcons have a better chance of making it through the RMR than OG do.
It's just like to see that OG matchup that they've got today. Is that not their third time facing NIP in like 3 weeks? 4 weeks?
Yeah, this is the revenge.
Yeah, they made a tweet, and it was it was NIP or OG made a tweet, and it was December 23rd, 2023, our 147th time playing NIP.
That's great.
It was phenomenal. Yeah. The social media managers for NIP are phenomenal.
Yeah, they'll get him this time.
For me with OG, I'm in agreement with Brandon. I think it's a tough one. I mean, even as an NIP fan, I look at that team and I think no team should be losing to them currently. But then you had the match at EPL, and I'm pretty sure it was NIP that knocked them out. And then it was at Blast. It was unfortunate that Smooth had to come in. He didn't have a great first 2 maps, but I don't know. It's a tough one for OG at the minute. They've been put in a very unfortunate situation, but they definitely have the firepower there with Dexter, and Flames had a great showing at Blast compared to what he did at Pro League. So yeah, if they come up against teams that can't match them pound for pound on firepower and also aren't that tactical, then maybe they can make their way through. But I do think it's matchup dependent. Yeah,
I don't know. I feel really bad as well because I feel like I've really just got in on OG, and I really like OG as an organization, as a team, how they kind of conduct their transfer policies. So it's a shame, but like I feel like when push comes to shove, and we're supposed to be debating each other, so I'm gonna get a bit like animated. But I can't have OG in the 6. I physically cannot do it. I might compromise on Falcons. I might.
Well,
I'll
have Falcons over
on the 6.
I'll have Falcons over BNE.
That's a tough.
You don't believe in BNE?
Well, look, it's 2 bird teams. We have to have one.
True.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be agreement on these because there's 6 teams to go through.
No, we got 4 of them the same.
Yeah, pretty good.
But I mean the entire 6, I think it's going to be tough. With Falcons being there as well, a team that haven't really had many results, but you've got legends in the team and they're being French. The storyline's great.
It is there. It can happen.
I mean, you saw it probably with Imperial, didn't you, at the Road to Rio RMR when they come up against Complexity in the final match to qualify and they win it in overtime. It's you kind of have a feeling something similar might happen here. So maybe if we have to pick a bird team, it is Falcons.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
But I think it's fair to say that we probably can't agree on all 6, and we've done well to agree on 4.
Especially when you don't have Na'Vi in your 3-0.
No, exactly, because it's 1 win, so 3 wins.
So the final category we got is who will be the highest rated player. So
mine's obvious. It's simple, right? Like there's, I think not only is it simple, but I think there's also just very few teams here that have the kind of star carries compared to the other group. Even for FaZe, it's very match dependent on which of their stars will be the one that kind of takes over. And You just know that Na'Vi is going to have Simple at the top of the scoreboard. And because I've got them going 3-0, you just know he's just going to run over everyone. He's probably going to put up like 2.8 rating or something against Into the Breach. It's going to be ridiculous, and it's going to completely inflate his stats for the whole event. So yeah, I think it's very clear that it's got to be Simple.
Why are you always dunking on Into the Breach?
Well, it's not dunking on them. It's just in comparison. It's David and Goliath, and David is like got no shoes on, and Goliath's there in big hulking armor about to just slap him down with an AWP.
All right. My highest rated player, I've gone for a FaZe player, I've gone for Brokey. I just, similar to what you were saying with the points about Simple, I agree, and I will take into account the fact that you said about match dependent. I feel like that's why FaZe is such a good team, right? It's the fact that any of the individuals can just pop off depending on the map. But best of ones, I feel like you want your ROP to probably have the best efforts in those best of ones. So for me, I thought Brokey would do well, and in best of threes, I just think he always shines. So I put Brokey. Could go for Deco, but I'm gonna go for Brokey.
Yeah, my counterpoint in the Brokey is just he's a very different AWPer to Simple, and I think that Simple's just going to farm against the low seed teams, whereas Brokey is probably not going to be the one that's farming there. It's probably going to be Rain, really.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like if we got to make a decision, and because I conceded the Na'Vi 3-0, I'd be more than happy to say Simple highest rated.
I think Simple is probably the option for this one. I mean, with FaZe, I think it's easier for Simple to get a high rating because you kind of have to remove MPL from that team at the minute, and he's only competing against 4 others. Whereas in FaZe, I mean, Karrigan can put up ratings against these smaller teams, but it's much more difficult to be, have a 1.8 rating in FaZe than it is compared to in an Na'Vi. They have much more competition to be at that top spot. So I think Simple probably is the pick for the highest rated player here. So there are our picks here, and it's been a bit spicy. I'm still trying to get over one win going through, but you know what, Brandon, we'll let you have it. And if they do, you're a genius. So we'll see what happens there. But this has been our RMR A. We will have an RMR B video coming out as well. So yeah, you can check these guys out in the description. You can leave a comment to see if you agree with them. I'm sure Brandon will love to see that. And thanks for watching.
Shoot me a DM on Twitter with your takes, but follow me first.